Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
It is Friday in the Revs and the end of another week, TGIF, and another week of ridiculousness goes on. But so we have, I guess, one of the big things now is the $125,000 for the night owl sign.
Yeah.
So we're gonna again the CPA. Look, I've had discussions about CPA. I don't agree with it. I think it's that we're being overtaxed and under revenued, and I know they've done some good, but something you want to let people raise money for something if they think it's that worthwhile. The taxpayers should not be funding things that are picked that are chosen by other people. It's because I don't live in that zone. I can't get anything for my house, and most of the time it's not for houses; it's for things like this, and nothing
Or worse,
irritates.
or worse, it's for the select few who have nice properties on Highland Avenue who
Exactly,
then get the money.
exactly.
Remember, like David Hebert who got all that money
Yep,
for the old Elks building.
yep. Oh yeah, and therein lies the problem. I've had numerous discussions, and there has been some good things, but the whole concept to me, I was against it at the start. So let's
So
make
was
that.
I.
We were both against that when they proposed it. And Dave Dennis was talking about how we need this for the historic North End, and then it was used for air conditioners for the right people and all kinds of other garbage. Now, 125,000 dollars for a sign in this historic building, which hasn't run in years, decades.
It's too small. It's a closet. It's a closet. I mean, it's not big at all. Chip, you seem to have frozen. Um, it, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. The night owl. Okay, Are you back,
I'm
Chip?
back.
Okay. Um, it's a closet, like I said. And don't get me wrong. Yes, the Night Owl Diner is kind of historic. It's been here for ages. Did you know that there was a second diner, Night Owl Diner? It was over on Second and Morgan Street, I think it was.
Hmm.
Um, that doesn't exist anymore. But they want $125,000 for the sign, not even for the building, for the sign.
Yeah, yeah, but CJ, that's not the point. Listen, uh, it's nice to understand a little bit about it. It's historic, but let's look at the night owl because unfortunately, I'm old enough to remember the night owl when it was running. Uh, the night owl was the night owl because it was a night owl. They were open 24 hours a day. The night owl was a viable business when Fall River had the mills and people worked 3 shifts. And there were people in there in the middle of the night having breakfast before going on a third shift, coming off the third shift, going on to the third shift, going on to the second shift. And there were people in there all the time. Since then, for decades and decades and decades, it hasn't been a viable business. They've opened it up a couple of times and it went belly up because now they're only open during the day. And now with the food and everything else, we're seeing businesses go out. And nothing aggravates me more than this horse manure. This Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the way that we just keep giving out money and putting lipstick on pigs and tell you this is going to help something. Listen, the night owl is across from an entire block of empty buildings. I live there. I drive by the night owl every day. I used to go to the night owl when I was a kid. They had hot cheeseburgers. The hot cheese that used to be famous down at Graham's? So they had hot cheeseburgers. And they had hot cheese hot dogs. They put the hot cheese on. I spent a lot of time in a night owl when I was growing up. When my father worked third shift in the machine shop, he used to go down there and eat before he went to work. It's not going anywhere. $125,000 for what? Lipstick on a pig. They're going to put it right in front of the sidewalk they painted with a mural. So they got a crosswalk painted with a mural, and they're going to have a $125,000 sign in front of an entire block of empty buildings. I think the only thing that they got in that entire block is a tattoo parlor on the corner. Heaven forbid these morons that are running a city start putting money into creating small businesses, getting people jobs so they can have money and keep small businesses in business. No, they want to put facades on everything and then tell you this is going to fix it. It doesn't fix it. Because they're hanging their hat on making this into Newton. The Flint Village. Oh, another name. Oh, it's a gateway city. It's the village in the middle of a gateway city. Let's give it another name. Emptyville. Because that's what it is. You're not bullshitting anybody, Paul. You're just making sure you can keep money getting pumped in so your developers are coming in and making their money. You're not trying to help the Flint. You're not trying to help the people of the Flint.
No, he's trying to clean that out, remember?
You want them out of there.
That's right.
You think we're going to have Newton. We're going to turn the Flint into Newton. You're going to take a blue-collar nib. You want to talk about history. Oh, the night owl is historic. Well, you know what the Flint was historically? Mills. Shelburne shirts, Stella Ann frock, Fall River knitting mills. I lived there. I grew up there. The Flint was a blue-collar neighborhood. And you're pretending it was something else. Because you're always full of shit. And with that, CJ, I'll turn it back to you.
Is there any X-Lax around?
You don't need it with him. He's got diarrhea of the lips. So.
Oh, God. It's just too funny.
Yeah, but $125,000 for a sign for a business that can't stay in business.
I know.
What sense does that make? Oh, it's another piece of lipstick you can stick on that pig that you're trying to convince everybody you're spending good money, throwing good money after bad. Yeah, there you go, Steve. Yeah, what the hell? Yeah, they're sticking illegal aliens everywhere.
We're putting them in the prisons.
Hey, they got them. What is that place? Springfield, Ohio. Did you see that story?
Yes, I did.
A town of like, I don't know, 50,000 people. They stuck 10,000 Haitians in there. They're eating the dogs. They're eating cats. They saw 4 of them walking down with geese. Their duck and geese population is disappearing in their pots. They can't get home. They can't get housing. And they got 10,000 illegal Haitians in there that didn't even come over the border. That's the way they're saying the border crossings are being reduced, because now they're flying them directly in. They just, 10,000 of them in a city of 50,000.
Now, before we start getting attacked, okay, I understand that the Springfield, Ohio town manager said that there is no proof, no corroboration that the dogs and cats are being eaten.
So, well, where are they?
I don't know.
Where are they? They're all missing. Okay, they didn't eat them. Okay. Yeah, they disappeared. They got sucked up by aliens.
They're being
There was a spaceship that went over Springfield and beamed them all up to the spaceship. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Creole.
You speak Creole?
I don't know. No, I actually want them to go back. Do you want them to starve? No, we're feeding them. They get credit cards. They get housing. Why are they eating the freaking dogs? It's more akin to their culture. They come from one of the poorest countries on the planet. They're not used to eating real food. I don't know. And frankly, Jeffrey, you can call me insensitive. I don't care. They don't belong here. They didn't even have to cross the border. I paid for a freaking plane, a chartered plane, to bring them directly to Ohio. And I'm pissed off about it. That clear enough? What don't you understand about I don't believe illegals should be here, because why? They're illegal. They didn't come here like my grandparents. They didn't come here like everybody else. And now when they got here, they're forcing Americans out of their own houses. Like they said, they're putting them in, they're putting them everywhere. Sticking them in schools, forcing our children out of their schools, overwhelming our educational system, while these wokies spend our money. But these billionaires don't care. They don't care. I don't either, because they should not be here. Try to get into another country. See what happens. You know what they do in Hungary when they cross the border? They grab them, they take their picture, they fingerprint them, they walk them to the gate and say, the next time you come back here, they're never going to see you again. We're going to send you to prison. You're done. They don't have a problem. Yeah, he wants to. Yeah. Well, the only problem is there's no more overtime. The illegals are taking all the jobs for half the price. They keep talking about how many jobs the Democrats have created, and the reality is there's been 1.2 or 3 million Americans who lost their jobs, and 1.3 million illegals who have got jobs. So they're replacing American workers. And when they work overtime, they don't pay taxes most of the time. Half of the jobs they got are under the table. I mean, look, this country's a catastrophe. You know, and I'm not worried. I'm sorry, you call me insensitive. They came into this country illegally. They should have been gone. It's our government's fault, and we're subsidizing them, and I don't like it. I paid my bills my whole life. Nobody ever paid a bill for me. I was never on welfare. And welfare is justified for some people. They need a hand up, not a handout. I don't believe in welfare forever unless you've got some kind of physical or mental issue that precludes you from being able to support yourself. But the reality is, I don't agree with this wokey. We're going to subsidize the world. They're only here to give them power. This is what the globalists want. They hate America. They hate capitalism. They want rich and poor. They don't like anything that will allow to have a middle class. They've been trying to eliminate the middle class for years, and
Paul's doing a damn good job of it.
They're doing a damn good job of it, and they have. This is it. It took them a while to get it to the point where they're doing it, but they figured it out now. When they opened those borders up and did what they did, it's like, you know. And look, you know, people talk about, oh, you got to have compassion. I have compassion. I have compassion for people who have issues that are not their fault. I have compassion for dogs, for children, for many things. What I don't have compassion for is somebody who intentionally invaded my country and then comes in and demands to be taken care of. They left a country where they were on their own, and they came into our country, didn't wait like our great grandparents and grandparents and waited in line, and they come in here and they get everything. And the ones who get everything, we still got all kinds of crime and everything else. This is, they've destroyed this country, and I don't have any compassion for those people because, as far as I'm concerned, they're invaders. Well, I don't know if it's going to have. Look, I think the border is a major problem, but the problem is that, unfortunately, elections have become marketing campaigns, not real elections. People don't vote with their head. I saw an interview the other day; it was just mind-boggling, but didn't surprise me. They were interviewing people, and they asked one young lady, "Are you going to vote for Kamala?" "Oh, yes." "Well, how about her policies?" And she said it. It was really refreshing to hear someone be dumb enough to actually say how stupid they are. She said to the person, she said, "Well, she has no policies to cure any of these problems. She hasn't had any." And she actually said, "I don't care." And the guy and the interviewer said, "What do you mean you don't care?" She said, "I don't care." She said, "Well, how are you gonna? What do you want?" And she said, "I just want to be joyful and happy." You imbecile. Do you really think you're going to be joyful in the country completely? Because you're an American. You're not going to get a debit card. They're not going to give you a place to live. They're not going to give you free medical care. You're going to be screwed, and you don't even know it. Joy's got nothing to do with it. Then I saw another one actually had a half a brain. She said, "I voted for Hillary and I cried when she lost. But then Trump got in, and I was a hell of a lot better off than I am now. So I don't have to like Donald Trump. I don't want him in my wedding party. I would invite him to my wedding party." He said, "But I liked it when I had money in my pocket and things were a lot better. And I don't believe that Kamala, I can't take a chance that she's actually going to do something because she's been in with this administration." So you got both ends of the spectrum. I saw in an interview. It was a pretty enlightening interview when that girl said, "I don't care. I just want joy. I want to be on TikTok. I want to spend my life on TikTok and Instagram and live my life in the cellar of my mother's house because my mother someday will never die. And then what's going to happen to me when I'm living in the cellar and there's nobody to take care of me?" They don't even think. They can't think that far. I mean, they've got complete pudding brains.
It's really sad because these influencers can make a difference in the election.
Oh, do they?
Okay, and right, they do. They make serious changes in the election process, and people don't understand that. And these influencers think, "Well, I'm on TikTok. I'm going to make $1 million." Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But is that where you're going to base all your news? Do you base all your news on Facebook? I get some tips from Facebook, but I follow them up. I check. I make phone calls.
Yeah, you're right. And you do your homework. Well, Jeffrey just made a great point. I would like to see another debate too. But I would like to see a town hall debate without moderators, without pro moderators, without these moderators that didn't fact check. The commission would be investigating for sports rigging. You're right. I mean, that was a disgrace. I mean, she lied so much, and she used and their own station, ABC, their own network had said debunked the things that she was, and they were defending it, saying, "Oh no, that's not true." Yeah, they let us say these things, but no, you're right, Jeff. I would love to see the people have the debate. Give it a town hall. Have the American public go there and ask them questions. Because I would go there if I could, and I'd ask her, "What? Tell me. I want to know your policy. You've said you're for fracking, you're not fracking, you're for this, you're going to price control. What are you going to do? I want to see you say it to a camera. Don't evade it. You opened up that last debate. They said, what are you going to do?" And she went everywhere but that. And during that answer, she said, I'm going to answer every one of those points, and she never did.
Right. Well, and the real big issue that I have is that I would say very clearly to her, why have you flip-flopped? Why have you changed your position that you held during the last presidential election and during your term as vice president? And now all of a sudden, you're all for these things.
Yeah.
Is that just being pragmatic?
Yeah,
are you just being a politician? Your lips are moving, you're lying? I mean, give me an explanation. Answer this for me. That's what's important.
Yeah.
That's what's important to the people.
Bernie Sanders answered the question for her. He said it right on TV to dummy.
I know he did.
He said she's just being a pragmatist. She's saying what she's got to say to get elected.
That's right.
And we all know that.
Right.
And it's like, like you're right, CJ. If you ask her that question, you know what she'd do? She'd give you a word salad. She'd dance around and talk about everything but what you asked her. They asked her a very simple question. Do you think people are better off now than they were 4 years ago? And she went everywhere but there. And those moderators, like you said, if they were refs, they're lucky they weren't reffing in some other country. Sometimes down in South America and stuff during soccer games, you know how rabid soccer fans are in the rest of the
yes, I do.
They actually murdered referees at soccer games because of the refereeing, because those moderators would have got murdered. I mean, it was just so blatantly obvious that they were just so far in the tank. They were like, it was like they were there strictly to shore her up and agree with her, even though they knew they were wrong. I mean, when they said, and I blame Trump too. I'm not going to say, look, he sucked. When she talked about bloodbath, why didn't he say, and he should have looked at the moderators and said, and your network knows. I was talking about the auto industry. That would have ended it right there.
Exactly.
But he didn't. And he had numerous opportunities with some of the things that she was going there where everybody knew it had been debunked. And even ABC, which is the worst station on television. I mean, look who they're owned by, Disney. The president of Disney is one of the biggest Democratic donors, woke donors in the planet. Look what they've done to Disney. And the CEO, or one of their top executives, was Kamala Harris's sorority sister.
But remember, it's a world of laughter, a world of cheer. It's a world.
Joy, joy, joy. We can't run a country on joy.
Right. Joy, joy, joy.
Yeah, happy joy, joy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, it's just crazy. But you get back to Fall River, it's the same crap. All we hear is joy, joy, joy. Let's spend $125,000 for a building that's been fundamentally derelict for the last 30 years.
Let's use a trolley that we spent money on to make it this wonderful, exquisite entertainment vehicle. And
Aren't they flocking from all over the state?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand,
it's amazing. I'll be
lines all around the gates of the city. Just to get on that
train. A line. I think the line went from Central Street all the way to the Flint, waiting for the trolley.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, these people, like I said, they think murals and signs fix a city. No, jobs fix a city. People working fix a city. They're saying no. Get rid of all the riffraff, which we are. That's what they consider us. Get rid of all the riffraff and replace them with people like us. Well, Paul, everybody can't have a job for their whole life that they never had to do anything and got big money like you did, and then become a mayor and make even more money and make all your rich friends rich. Because you can't make a school department big enough to hire everybody in Fall River. But if everybody in Fall River was your friend, our school department would be the biggest employer in the country, because you would employ everybody that lived in Fall River would work for a government agency that you controlled. Because that's your universe. Give everybody a job, and if they don't perform, get them 18 assistants, all of whom know you too, and keep the incompetence train going, because that's the way you run things. 3 police chiefs, 3 fire chiefs, total chaos, no transparency, and just keep making promises. Oh, it's going to get better. Oh, I'm going to give you a tax break. You ran on it. Remember, you're going to give us a tax break? Not once, but twice you said that. I'm going to be transparent. I'm going to be transparent and obey the law. Never been transparent at all. You can't yet. It's like extracting molars with him to get information. He won't even give the school committee numbers when he's required to, because they have to vote on spending that money. And shame on the school committeeman for not taking him to court. Like I said, be a pig's ass that I'd vote on something to expend money for the city when I'm a fiduciary, and told me I can't give you a definitive number. I'd say, well, I'm not going to vote on it. I refuse to vote until you give me a hard number. And I have case law, tons of it, that say that fiduciaries are required, legally required, to look, and this is in quotes in that legal opinion, with a critical eye at every investment of their money. And also, it says in legal opinion, in case law, that they have to go beyond what is presented to them and go dig deeper because of their fiduciary responsibility. Yet Paul Coogan tells the school committee, shut up and just vote.
I'm not going to give you the number because you're going to vote no anyways.
Yeah. You're going to vote no anyway. Well, doesn't matter which way I vote. I got to know what I'm voting on, because it's legal. It's legally bound. But none of them. They all make a lot of noise and whine and cry, and they wave, they rattle their sabers, but nobody takes them to court. And they'll go, oh, yeah, it's easy to say that. No, it's not easy to say that, but I did it. I'm not just talking the talk. I walked the walk. I brought this city to court, you know how many times? JLMC twice, unfair labor practices up the wazoo. Every time they violated the law, and I had the resources to do it because the union had resources, we took them to court and we won. There was no damn way they were ever going to tell me, I'm not going to show you the numbers. That's what we got in this city now. We've got a criminal enterprise running this city. Shut up. We're going to go in front of you and tell you, these numbers are just for discussion. Don't worry about it. You can't see the number. Well, is it yes or no? Well, it's yes and no.
I love that answer. That was the best answer.
That was beautiful. That's yes or no. It's yes and no. Okay. Another great answer by our wizards financial wizards. But again, who's at fault? The voters. 55,000 voters in this city, and they refuse to exercise their authority. When you have people on that school committee who will walk into a school committee meeting after they weren't there when they went over what they were voting on and just say, well, what are you voting on? Okay, I vote yes. That's what Paul wants me to vote. How did the bobbleheads vote? Okay, yeah, I'm a yes. I have no idea what we're voting on, but by the way, I'm a yes too. Yeah, well, I have serious concerns about the post office delivering anything on time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. The post office. Boy, Steve, there is one of the greatest examples of how badly a government can screw something up. That government agency for decades and decades has been a mess, and it just gets more expensive to run and more inefficient and ineffective. You know, it's kind of like the Secret Service now. They found out that the one who was the head of the detail when Trump got shot had flunked a couple of the courses she was supposed to have passed. But she checked the right boxes, so they gave it a job.
Speaking of that, real quickly, the Wingnuts are coming out saying that they can't see any scar on Trump's ear. So was that a fix? Was that a play? Was that a ploy? Was that just something he wanted to do? Did he have that set up? Yeah, he had it set up so much that they killed the guy. So I don't know.
Yeah, they weren't real bullets, I guess. And I guess, well, CJ, you can speak to this better than I can because you are the doctor nurse, the PhD in nursing. You know this stuff. But I know a little bit about physical stuff. But he got clipped in the ear, nicked in the ear. Well, you're not going to leave much of a scar. But just like in your forehead, your scalp, you have a lot of capillaries there. Those areas bleed profusely.
Bleed a lot.
Yeah, they bleed profusely when you get hit in that area.
That's right.
I cornered a lot of fighters. I fought. You get a cut in the scalp, you get a cut over the eye, it bleeds like hell. A lot of capillaries in there, and they bleed profusely. You get a lot of blood out of those areas. He got nicked in the ear, and it really looked like that's what happened. But now it's going to be, well, I guess he's like the wrestlers. You know, remember pro wrestlers used to cut themselves with razor blades? They disappear and they cut themselves and they come out bleeding. So I guess, but he timed it so well that it was perfectly timed. When you hear the bullet, then he grabbed his ear. But then, like you said, of course, it was all pretending. I guess the people that got shot really didn't get shot either.
That's right.
You know, I mean, these people look, they're batshit crazy, these people. Look, I'm going to take a chance that somebody's going to nick my ear. That guy had to be one hell of a shot, I'll tell you what, and not hit anything else. But that's absurd.
I know it is, but again, that's what they're doing. They're jumping all over the cats and dogs thing, okay? They're jumping all over that. There are memes all over the place about cats and dogs.
Yeah.
All right? And, I could care less about cats and dogs, okay? Do I believe they could be eating cats and dogs? Yeah, I believe it. Do I believe that they're eating ducks and geese? Yeah, I believe it. I know people in Fall River that go out there and they shoot the ducks. I know people in Fall River that shoot the geese.
Well, we do have corroborated evidence that they did have geese, because that was one thing on a report. They did see them walking down the street with geese. Right. So those geese were never seen again. So can you say they were killed? Well, I don't know. Now we're going to play the game. Well, I don't know. Do we need a corpus delicti to prove that they're being
They're pets. She has pets. I'm feeding them corn in my yard.
Yeah. But look, but it doesn't change the fact that they've disrupted that community to a, like I said, the cultural differences. That yeah, you're right. You can't. Well, you're not supposed to be killing animals. Period. In protected for the most part. And even if you can kill certain animals, which you can, they're normally seasonal. You have deer season. You have you can hunt geese. You can hunt animals, but it's normally controlled. And the other thing is, you're not supposed to be murdering things within city limits. So,
And you know what, Steve? That was the mistake. They used water. When you take water and put it together with lithium, you get more fire. That's why lithium fires are very difficult. And Chip can speak about this because that's his wheelhouse. That's why they're very difficult to put out. And that's why those electric vehicles are nothing but driving around on a ready to go bomb.
Oh, you're right. Look at combustible metals are extremely dangerous. They burn at extremely high temperatures. There was a couple of firefighters in Massachusetts that were exposed because it got wet. They were carrying it out. It got wet, and one firefighter lost basically his ears, his hands, his nose. He was blind, and he survived. But combustible metals, and a lot of people don't realize, obviously it's my profession, so I understand it. You're not supposed to use water on most combustible metals. You're not supposed to use water on electricity. There are things you're not supposed to use water on. And also, people don't understand that the smaller something is, it changes its ignition temperature. Like metal shavings have a lower ignition point than solid metal.
Right.
So shavings are more dangerous. Just like dust. Dust is more combustible than it is if it's in solid form. Like, the ignition temperature of wood, it's been a long time since I studied this stuff, but it used to be like 300, I think it's 392 degrees. But if you expose wood to heat over a long period of time, it breaks down the cellulose and it lowers its ignition temperature. There's a whole bunch of things when it comes to firefighting that a lot of people are not aware of. I mean, a few firefighters were once killed fighting a brush fire. They just dropped because they didn't have masks on. They were out in the open fighting a brush fire. It wasn't in Massachusetts. It was, I believe, in California. And what happened was there were milk, the plastic PVC milk containers?
Yep.
They were in the grass, and PVC puts out deadly chemicals, hydrogen cyanide, a whole bunch of other stuff. And what they did was, because they didn't have a mask on, those things ignited, they burnt, they were close enough to inhale the toxic gases, and they died. When it comes to fighting fires, just like when a helicopter goes down, helicopters, you ever see a helicopter burn, magnesium and those things, it's like, even the color of the flame is different. You can tell when a combustible metal is burning. So these things extremely, extremely dangerous. And I don't know how we got off on that one, but the fact is that it was, you got to be very, very careful. Yeah, you get a license to hunt. Yeah, deer season. They have deer tags, and they also have limits. Like, you can't kill 700 deer if you want. I mean, you got a deer tag.
Yeah, my uncle and my cousins used to go deer hunting every fall, and they'd go out into the mountains, and they would bring back one or two. Because there was three of them, so they could each bring back one. But they had my aunt working her back off, prepping the meat and cutting it, and then taking it all over to a butcher was the best way to go take it to a meat cutter. And I mean, I don't personally want to eat Dumbo or whatever, Bambi. I don't want to eat Bambi, but that's okay. Uh, that's a whole nother world. People have acquired tastes, and deer is not one of my acquired tastes. So,
Well, hey, it's just like anything else. There are a lot of game suppers, but game meat is very. You got to make it You make it the correct way because it's extremely lean meat because
right.
those things are not milk fed. They don't just wander around on pastures. So most of the time, when they make venison, they make it in a kind of a stew or they marinate it or you do something because the meat can be very, very tough if you don't know how to cook it correctly.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of gamey meat. I mean, in the military, I had to learn how to eat anything. I ate snake and a few other things because I was trained in survival training. But uh, when we ate that stuff, it didn't have any taste anyway. We used to make sure we burnt it like a charcoal briquette, and to kill any bacteria that was in it.
I know. Yeah.
And then we only eating it for protein and sustenance. We had to, you had to learn how to feed yourself so you could survive. But it wasn't for, you weren't eating gourmet food. It was like you cooked the thing. As a matter of fact, I think I still got my Special Forces handbook. It tells you how long you have to cook a rat before you eat it. So fortunately, they never had us eat those, but I did eat a little snake in my time. So,
and again, what's normal for other countries?
Yeah. Well, they eat live monkey brains in the Far East.
Yeah, exactly. And in some countries, they do serve dog. In some countries, they do.
Korea.
Yeah, Korea. So, and they think that is a delicacy. They think it's wonderful. Not a delicacy because it's all over the streets, but you don't see a lot of stray dogs. Okay, you don't see a lot of stray dogs.
Yeah, like you said, that's the thing. A lot of people don't. Most Americans do not have the ability to understand that there are vast cultural differences between Americans and other countries.
Right.
And it's not saying that they're wrong. It's a different culture. If you grew up in the Far East, you might like live monkey brain. The monkey's got his head in a vice. They cut off the top of the skull, they pull it out, and they're eating the monkey brain. It's like they do that. They also eat in the Far East. They also eat the embryo of a chicken while it's still in the egg, the shell. So just before the embryo hatches, they consider that a delicacy. Most people in this culture would not consider that a delicacy. They would consider that kind of gross. But the thing is, we have different cultures, and this is the whole thing about this. When they're talking about these Haitians, you got to remember they're from one of the poorest countries in the world. They'll eat virtually anything because when you're starving, you're going to try to survive. I mean, we've had, people who are from our culture. They made a couple of movies about that when they became cannibals, when they got stuck up in the Andes or something.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that plane crash.
It wasn't just Joe Biden that had his Uncle Bozy eaten. But this whole this whole thing comes from a completely different perspective, and it causes a lot of problems because people can't remember that when you're talking about other cultures, they not only have different tastes in food, they have different perspectives on life. This is why when you talk about radical Muslims and people don't understand how radical they truly are, and they want to kill everybody, they just don't believe it. No. There'll always be peace. Well, we can go back to the Crusades that lasted 400 years. Not all Muslims have that. Radicals in every society, they're wacky, and people just in this country seem to have that myopic perspective that everybody is like us or should be like us, but they're not. They're different.
Are you meaning to tell me that we have religious wars? Are you really trying to say that we have wars over religion?
There have been more murders and there have been more people killed in religious wars than for any other reason. I mean, look at the Crusades. People don't realize. You watch Robin Hood and you see King Richard coming back from the Crusades, or if it wasn't the one with Russell Crowe where actually King Richard got killed in the Holy Land, but all the other ones with Errol Flynn and Kevin Costner and all the rest of them, King Richard came back at the end of Robin Hood. Well, people don't realize the Crusades lasted for 400 years.
A long time, 4th century.
400 years. There were literally thousands of people killed during the Crusades. And look at the other religious, the Inquisition. The Inquisition. How many people were killed during the Inquisition? Oh, what's the latest on Stewart? I guess they're going before.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess they're going to
the bankruptcy court has approved the acquisition of St. Anne's and Morton by Brown Health. That's Lifespan.
Yeah.
Now, as for the Dominican Academy, that was separate from the hospital. The lands were separate. The buildings were separate. I'm not sure what's going on with that TIF agreement for that academy. I haven't heard anything about the TIF agreement. I'm not even sure if the TIF agreement is still in effect because they didn't make it apartments. They didn't make it market rate housing. Last time I was in that building, it was a school still, but it was a charter school. So I'm really not sure what's going on with the TIF agreement, Gene. But we now have a Lifespan hospital here in Fall River. My question on that is that, or does that mean that now people will get a choice on the trauma center they're sent to? Because Rhode Island Hospital, which is Lifespan, is a level 1 trauma center. St. Luke's is a level 2 trauma center, and that's in New Bedford. Mileage-wise, they're very comparable. And for the longest time, we sent all our traumas to Rhode Island Hospital. Always. Now, all of a sudden, because South Coast has one in Dartmouth, which I'll be very honest, if they ever took me there, as soon as I got there, I turned around and told them, get me the hell out of here. Get me out of here. I don't want to be here. Send me to Rhode Island. Send me to Boston. Send me somewhere else.
That doesn't make sense.
That's me.
Well, it does make sense. You got a level 1 trauma center available, same distance. That's where you should be going. But you know that the powers to be, a lot of them have friends on the board of Charlotte.
Of course. And it's not, when you figure a doctor from South Coast is the consulting physician for the EMS system, where do you think they're going to go?
Yeah. I don't know. That could be true. Could be true. Gee, they could be true. Problem with Stewart is the information is so difficult because there's so many moving pieces. You've got the CEO going before Congress who's refused to basically give any information. That CEO has two $35 million yachts and a couple of $100 million homes when he ran a thing into the ground. And a lot of people don't realize that a lot of these things are separate entities. Like the doctors at Stewart Health are separate from the hospital.
Exactly.
So there's not just one move. It's not like the entire everybody. They're not dealing, and the doctors are in a lot of trouble because the doctors are really having problems.
Well, the interesting thing is here in the South Coast, we're lucky because Hawthorne Medical was affiliated to the South Coast Medical Group. They weren't part of it. Primacare was affiliated with the Stewart Medical Group. They weren't a part of it. And as a matter of fact, Primacare maintained their own labs, their own facilities. They've got that whole mill complex. They've got an endoscopy center, PT, OT, a weight control center. They've got everything there, everything you can imagine. And they have their own labs on site. They don't send anything out. They were smart. They wanted to keep everything in-house. That's one thing I got to tell you. Everything stays in house. I'm not, I would say, comfortable with every primary care physician, but I'm not comfortable with every Hawthorne physician either. Although the majority of them are very good.
Yeah. Yeah. The only problem I've ever found with primary care, it's hard to get out of there. They don't like
Yeah.
to refer people out.
No, they don't.
If you decide you want to go to Boston or Providence, they try to keep you there. We've had a few people that, we've had issues with them. They kind of very difficult to get a referral outside the network, even if you're covered for that other hospital.
Right.
And that's why we get into that trauma center. That trauma center in Providence is a higher level trauma center. It should be a no-brainer. We should be taking the trauma cases back there. But as you said, the powers to be don't really care. And I'm with you. I gave my primary a long time ago orders that if something happens to me, stabilize me and get me to Boston.
Right.
Yeah, I don't, but now that they're affiliated with Lifespan and Brown, they have some very, very good. That is like we said it on a previous show. So this is an extremely good thing for the people of Fall River.
Yes, it is.
They have some excellent hospitals. They are virtually nearly on the level of the hospitals up in Boston. And I just was told, I don't know if you're aware of it, that Beth Israel now is opening up a facility in Middleborough, and Middleborough's not that far either.
Right.
So that is like the second. That's like just I think they're rated just below Mass General. Beth Israel.
Right.
So, extremely good hospital. We're very, very fortunate in this area to have very good hospitals within. I mean, even if you have to schlep up to Boston like I did yesterday, which was a nightmare, but I'll tell you what, we're very, very fortunate to be within, driving range of some of the best hospitals that are available in the United States.
Yeah, well, we're lucky in that respect here. Well, I want to thank you all for watching. I want you to have a great weekend. It's supposed to be a halfway decent weekend. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend.